Interlude, 9th Battalion Surgeon. Philip wiped his hands on his apron, the blood leaving jagged mountains on the white cotton fields. He pulled his mask down. He couldn't breathe. The feeling had been coming on for a while. He slid down the wall and closed his eyes, trying to relax. Against the darkness of his eyelids, he saw again the blood and viscera of 24 surgeries, all blended together. He felt the sweat running into his eyes, his bowels quivering with the stink. His eyes snapped open. How much longer? How much longer till Major Thomas relieved him? The medical academy hadn't prepared him. Not for this. It was one thing to take apart a cadaver, the anonymity of the white bandage wrapped around the face, the embalmed tissue reeking of formaldehyde, not blood, the parts already disjointed and open to the air. It was quite another to saw crushed limbs from living people as they screamed and thrashed round on the gurney, to cauterize their wounds as they bit a piece of leather and 3 others held them down. He scrubbed his fingers against his apron, but the blood wouldn't come off. He doubted it ever would. They'd won. The Nocturra were gone. Yet here he was, no end in sight. He dropped sideways and lay his head against the floor. He just needed a minute. 1 minute. Sleeping on the job, eh? Philip bolted upright. He must have fallen asleep. Major Thomas stood over him, a scowl twisting his scarred face. No, sir, Philip answered. Resting your eyes, then. Thomas barked. I'm sorry, sir, Philip said, getting slowly to his feet, pins and needles stabbing through his extremities. Thomas laughed, a sound like a sledgehammer pulverizing stone. You did good today, he said, glaring as he always did, though Philip thought with less intensity than usual. You're relieved. Get at Wood. She'll finish up. Yes, sir. Philip tried not to let his excitement show. Major Thomas stalked off down the hall, then turned back. One last thing first. Check on those kids that came in before you wash up. Philip saluted, branching his fingers over his heart in the Kindler salute, his 2 hands meshed together in the likeness of a fire. Yes, sir. His spirits sank. He'd seen them come in. It was hard enough to witness all the ways an adult body could be broken, sliced, and seared, without having to see kids put through it too. He walked down the hallway, pulling his apron off as he went. He turned left, first door on the right. He pulled the handle and entered. The fire had long since burned out in the study's hearth, the gas lamps extinguished, the only light what followed him in from the hall. He waved his hand, coaxing the lamps back to life. High above, the hard visage of a man glared down of an enormous fresco. Philip tried not to look at it. It made him supremely uncomfortable. He thought the man bore more than a passing resemblance to Major Thomas. The 2 kids were right where he'd left them. He'd thought to put them somewhere away from the screaming and dying. The girl wasn't so bad. Her hair would grow back in time and cover much of the damage. He shivered to look at the older boy beside her. He'd live with those burns for the rest of his life. But their injuries paled in comparison to the 3rd child. He opened the side door to the adjoining room, a morbid fascination guiding him. His shadow fell across her, there, under a white sheet. He pulled it back, nearly fainting at what he saw, a scream trapped in his throat. It's not possible. The girl's skin shone pale and smooth in the light, her breathing a dry whisper in the silence.